In this video, we're going to walk through creating a simple app that you use to store lyrics of your songs, and you want people to be able, other members in Meon, to be able to come in there and give corrections to your lyrics in case they're wrong. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to create a new app from scratch, and we're going to create this entire app from scratch. So let's start by saying actions new app, and let's call the app lyrics and save it. Now we'll add an item. So the item in the lyrics app is going to be called song, and we'll create it. Now note that whenever you create an item without changing any of its default settings from scratch, it's going to be configured so only the app owner, in this case me, RC Anand, who signed in, and only that app owner can create content, see content, and everything. So it's kind of secure by default. So if you want a totally personal kind of app, then you don't have to change any of the advanced sort of security policy settings. So in this case, we just created it that way. We'll go back and revisit if we want to make any changes, but for now, we have a song item which only the app owner can write to and see. All right, so next we're going to add fields to this song. So the workflow for creating any app is first create the app, create the items. As you create each item, add fields to them. You might add child items, which we'll come to in a moment, and again add fields to each of them. So whenever you finish creating an item, immediately add fields to it, set up all the fields, and then once you're done with your entire structure of your app, you go back and change the settings of the items in your app. Maybe the item at the root of the app, like right under the app, or some child item which is under these items, and you change the security settings and other settings for those. All right, so that's the general workflow for most apps that you would create here. All right, so let's now go and add fields to this. So the song would probably have a title as the first field, or the song name. So we could just say name. We could give a little hint for people who are filling it here, so, filling this form when they actually create a song. We could add it here, but since only the app owner is going to be adding songs here, we'll not do that now. We can say that the name of the song is required, and let's just go ahead and create that field. All right, so if we go and look here, we'll see that yes, there's a field called name that's been created. Now let's add another field. Now here we want to add, let's say, a link to a video of the song. If it's available somewhere publicly, then maybe we want to add a link to that video. So let's add a, so the string field is kind of a powerful thing. It's just a string, but if it happens to be a link to something that Meon recognizes, then Meon will automatically create a preview for it. So in this case, if it's a video string, a link to a YouTube video or some other site video, then when you actually see it, you'll see an embedded video in your page. So that way, it does the same thing for images. It even does it for feeds and for several other types of content. So in this case, we'll just add a string field. So we don't have anything called a video field or anything. You just have to use it as a window string field. We give it a name saying it's a video link. And by the way, that also brings us to another point where Meon doesn't at this point allow you to directly store pictures or videos on Meon. So you'd only be able to add links to external images, videos, and so on. In the future, we might add that capability, but as of now, since we are still in Meon beta and it's early days, we are just allowing you to add links to these videos and other external media. All right, so we're adding a video link. This one is not really required because you might not have a video link for some songs, so we'll just leave it as it is, and we'll say create field. And again, if we go and look at the fields, we see there's a name and a video link. You'll have to click on those fields to open it up and see the fields. So if you're wondering where the fields are, that's where they are under the item. So you always, to see your fields, you go to the item page and click on the fields at the bottom and you'll see the fields. All right, so another one, which is the lyrics. So let's add another field, and in this time we want to add a longer text with possibly some formatting and stuff. So we'll pick a text field, and we'll call it lyrics. Now the lyrics are probably required at the end of the day, but sometimes you might just go and add a song and then come back and find the lyrics and add them. So we'll not make it required again. So we'll just leave it like that. All right, so at this point, we have the name, the video link, and the lyrics. And we could add more fields, the singer, the music composer, and so on, the lyricist. But for now, we'll just keep it simple. We'll just add these three, and you can go and try adding the other things. So, and you can just explore with the different types of fields. When you click on new field, you get all these different types to see what they do, play around with them, and you'll get some ideas on other things you could add or how you could add them. All right, so we're done now. We have a song item, but are we really done? So we also talked about the ability for other users to come in and submit corrections to your lyrics. So in order to do that, we now introduce the new notion of a child item. So when you're in an item, so items are something which can be directly under an app, as the song item is under the lyrics app, as we can see in the breadcrumbs here. But items can also be under the song under another item. So in this case, the song can have a child item. So we'll add a new child item now. And the child item we'll call correction. So people can add corrections to the lyrics. Again, we'll not go and mess around with the item settings at this point. So we'll just say create item. And again, at this point, if we were able to create stuff inside this app, then only the app owner can create a song, only the app owner can create a correction, and so on. But we'll change that soon. So before that, as we said, once you create an item, the next thing you do immediately is to add its fields. So in this case, you add a new field, and again, you give a string as the title of your correction, like a little short. It's always a good idea when you create items that the first field, even if you add a counter field might be the first one, just to give a counter to your items, just giving it'll automatically like number the instances of that item. But even after that, the next field that you have, it's good to have a short name or possibly a string which just lets people add a short summary to it, so that way when they see it, they're going to have a better experience. And you'll see that if you add a text field and people put in like very complex HTML and stuff like that, then you're going to have all kinds of the things will not look as good in Meon. So always have a first field which is it's just a design guideline, but it's a good thing to try and practice, to always have a first field which is a string. You could use a number in some cases, but keep it short. Like it's not a field where you expect people to enter large amounts of content. So basically, it'll get truncated in some parts of the view, so that will not make it look very good. So especially when you see it as the title of that post and so on, it's always good to have like a title field. So we'll make this required again so that people enter a short blurb. So people could, so here it might be useful to give a hint. If you're just submitting a correction, what would you give as a title? So the user could give a title as so you can give enter a short title such as minor correction. So this is like an example of what they could enter, and what you enter in this name details will show up in the form as a hint when the user actually goes in to create a new correction instance. All right, so that's that. And this show name details here is basically saying you also want this hint to be shown when you're seeing the item after the seeing that instance. So when you actually finish creating it, when others see it, like when you see the correction or the completed correction, should they also show this thing there? It doesn't make sense to show this. I mean, this is only intended as a hint for the user to enter it. That's why we don't check the show name details here. And is this a required field? Yes, it is. So we go ahead and create this field. And we'll now add another field, which is the kind of detailed correction. So we'll make it a text field because it's going to have a lot of details possibly. You might even rewrite the whole thing with the corrected lyrics, and we'll just call it the corrections field. And it's not much more needed. And we'll make it required that when you enter a correction, you better have Or maybe not, maybe the string field has the correction itself, like they just say, hey, there's one little word that's wrong, so maybe they put it in there. So we'll not make it required, and we'll create this field as well. So now structurally you see that the entire app is complete, and you still can't create content in it, but just hang on for a moment. Let's go back up to the song item, which is the kind of the root item here, which is under the, or we call it a root item or a base item, basically meaning that it's right under the app directly and it's not one level further deep. If you noticed, and then you can now see where is that, the correction item we just created. So it's a child item under this song. So you can see that here. You can click on this, it'll go to the correction page. So that's how you kind of navigate around this. So we're done with creating the structure of this app. Now what we need to do is to go and revisit the settings on each of these things. So let's look at the settings on the song. And we see here that, as we said, that the defaults kind of hold, and we'll only be looking at some of the settings. So let's look at the maximum instances per user. Can each person submit more than one correction? Perhaps not. Let's have users who submit. Sorry, this is a song. So here, I'm sorry. So in the song, we leave it blank, basically meaning that the app owner who's going to be creating these songs can create any number of instances. And instance creators is blank, which basically means only the app owner can create it. These things will be changing. So rather than looking at them here, let's look at them right in the form where we edit this item. So let's go ahead and edit the song item. And these kind of security settings, which if you need them, are under this advanced section. We'll not look at all the settings, we'll directly jump into the ones which matter to us. So let's say we have this policy section. So we'll directly go to this policy section, which is where all these security settings are. So how many instances can each user create? We can create any number, so leave it blank. Do you want, and there are no groups involved in this scenario. So we're going to say who can create instances. Again, only the app owner, so we don't check any of these options. So if you check this members, it would say every user in Meon can create songs in this app, which we don't want to happen, so we'll not check that. Similarly, we don't enter any specific users or groups. Now we go on to who can read instances, instance readers. So now, who can read the song? So we want members, any member, to be able to read the song. So right now what is selected is this item instance creator, which means that only whoever created the song can read it, which in this case the only person who can create it is the app owner. So basically only the app owner can read it. But let's change that by unchecking this and selecting members. We could have left it checked, but it's just unnecessarily adding settings where we don't need it. So we just say members, which means any member can read it. We could also have said public, which means that even a non-signed in member of Meon can read it. So if you chose to share these songs on Facebook or some other social network or some other place, then you can just check it to be public, so that even if a person gets a link, they can see that song and they can see the stuff under it. So that's the instance readers. The instance editors, again, whoever created the instance only should be allowed to edit it. In this case, since the creator is only the app owner, then only the app owner will be able to edit the content, and the app owner is the only one who can delete the content with this instance deleter setting. Stat readers is about who can read statistics. That's not relevant in most cases, but if you want, you can say any member can read the statistics as to how many songs are there. If there's anything more interesting going on, they'll see statistics about it. And then you update the item. So that's it for modifying the song item. And now we'll look at how we modify the correction item. So let's go to the child items, click on correction. And here again, let's edit it directly. We can look at the settings. The settings would just have some defaults here. They're kind of the sensible defaults, but we'll see what they mean. We'll directly go ahead and edit the item. And you can click on this advanced section here. You're now in the correction item. And again, let's go to the policy, which is what we're concerned about in this video. So, and in this app. So maximum instances per user. Now a correction, let's say that each user can only submit one correction for a song. So you can just set this to 1. If you left it blank, that means each user can submit any number of corrections. But what I want here in my app is that when someone submits a correction, they can probably go ahead and edit it later and add more details to the correction. But I don't want one person to be submitting a whole bunch of corrections. So I can just set this to 1. And the instance creators right now is defaulted to parent chain item instance creators. What this means is that in this case, there's only one parent, which is the song item. So if you're under a song instance and you're creating a correction instance, then you can only the song instance creator can create correction instances. So that's how it's set up. As I told you, whenever you create an app and create items, by default, it'll just be set up in such a way that only the app owner can create stuff, edit stuff, delete stuff, read stuff, and even for the child item. So basically, if the parent, in this case, is the app owner, and they are the only ones who can, the one who created the parent item instance or the song instance is only one who's allowed is the app owner by default. So only those who created that can create instance of this. But that's not what we want. We want any member in meon to be able to create instance of this. So we uncheck the parent chain item instance creators and check the members, which means any member can create corrections. But each member can create only one correction per song. So when you enter it here, it basically means when it's a child item like this correction item, it means per song each member can only create one correction. So who can read these instances? You can say that only so I can choose to do this one of two ways. I can say that only the person who created the song, which is the app owner, only they can read the corrections, or I can say all the members can read each other's corrections. So I would in this case make it open and say any member can read each other's corrections. Who can edit it? Whoever created the instance can edit it. That's fine. So if a member creates it, they can edit their own corrections, but others can't edit. So one member can't edit another member's corrections. So that's why this basically says this item instance creator, as in the current item instances creator, only can edit it. Similarly, for deleting, only the same item instance creator can delete it. Stat readers, let's also open this out and say members can read statistics of how many corrections were submitted and so on. All right, so now we can update this item and our app is ready to go. So let's now let's first publish the app. So the app is ready to be published. Let's jump back up to the app page before we do that, just so we're in the right context, and then let's just publish the lyrics app. So the app is done, we published it. We can now start adding new songs. So till we publish it, we would not see this new song link, but once it's published, I can start adding a new song. So the form for the song looks as we expected. It has a name, a video link, lyrics, and the topics always hangs in with every piece of content that you create. So you can tag any piece of content with some topics. Whoever creates it can tag it, and whoever can edit it as well can go ahead and add tags to it in terms of topics. So now so let's pick some song. So let's say my song. I could add a link to the video and I could add some lyrics over here. So and then when I publish it, so let me name is the only thing that's required. So we'll not actually put anything in here. We're just illustrating it for testing as a demonstration. So now I'm seeing my song. It doesn't have any lyrics, so that's empty, and so it doesn't have a video link either, so that's empty as well. But if I added another new song, or I could add another new song. I could add another new song under the song item. So this is just a convenient thing to say I want to create another one just like this one. Or I could go, now someone else could be signed in and they could come to this page, and let's say they say, I want to create a correction. So they submit a new correction. They say, lyrics are empty, right? So they saw the song before you had a chance to, I had a chance to enter the lyrics. So they come in here and they submit this. So now you're on the page which is showing this lyrics are empty correction. So you can see here, I mean, this the structure here of this breadcrumbs kind of gets longer as you go deeper. But RC Anand, the user, created a lyrics app which had a song item in which RC Anand created a song instance called My Song, and then a correction item which is under the song item for this song has an instance created again by RC Anand in this case, which says lyrics are empty. But if some other user had created it, then their name would appear here. And you can of course click on any of these and go to navigate up and down the chain. And as you notice, this is the lyrics are empty instance, as you can see from the breadcrumbs and from the title. But you can also see that the it shows like the parent instance. So in this case it's song my song, so it shows a little blurb about that. So that just gives you a bit of context right there. You can click on this and go to that song as well. So you could go here or here and go to the same place. So that's a quick so that's it. So the app is done and it's ready, and you can start seeing content. People can start adding content and everything's done. All right, so let's kind of recap before we close. The you We wanted to create a lyrics app with the other in which only the app owner creates lyrics and others can submit corrections. So we created an app called Lyrics. We added a song item. We added the fields to the song item. We added correction item under the song item, and in that we again added the fields for it. And once we were done with that, we went back up to the each item. So here we have only two items, the song and the correction. So the song item, we changed it so that any member could see it and so on. And then we went to the correction item and said that any member could create corrections, but each member could only create one correction per song. We said all that, and then we actually created content and we could see how it looked. Right, so right now it's a very empty, shallow piece of song and lyric and correction. But if you actually, added more details, you'd see it all come up. I mean, I can show you some examples in some later videos, but this just shows you how quick and easy it is to build an app which has, and we learned this new concept here. We already knew about apps, items, and fields in the earlier videos, but this video showed us the notion of child items as well. So you can have, and each item can have any number of child items. An app can have any number of items. So you can have kind of this nested tree of structure of your app, which has items under the app, and each item under the app has a bunch of different items, and and so on. And we'll see many interesting ways in which some of these items can be automatically created as well in upcoming videos. All right, thank you very much for watching and enjoy using Meon.